The twin suns of Varela Prime hung low in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the pale metal spires of the Galactic Concord University. From the highest observation tower, Dr. Lorana Vell looked down at the city below, her violet eyes reflecting curiosity and amusement. She was a Zentari scholar, trained to study civilizations across the galaxy, yet she had spent the last few years obsessed with one species: humans. Humans, according to the archives, were chaotic, violent, and yet astonishingly creative. Their history was filled with wars, revolutions, and endless struggles, yet they had survived. The records described humans as a species of passion, capable of both great destruction and profound kindness. But the galaxy had long assumed that humans were extinct, their violent ways leaving nothing but echoes in the cosmic record. Lorana chuckled to herself as she turned a page in an ancient, fragile text she had found in the Concord's restricted library. The page described humans wielding primitive weapons, capable of great devastation. She shook her head. Legends, she whispered. All of it. Humans violent, they are probably extinct because they could not control themselves. Her laughter was soft, melodic, but tinged with disbelief. It was a sound that carried through the quiet of the library, and even the small hovering librarian drones paused, as if listening. The very next week, Lorana's life shifted. A human delegation arrived on Varela Prime as part of a diplomatic research exchange. This was the first time humans had been officially invited into the Galactic Concord in centuries. Lorana had requested a position observing them. Excited by the chance to meet a living member of the species she had only read about, she found herself in a wide, gleaming conference hall, lined with tall crystalline windows. The humans arrived in a sleek silver starship, stepping onto the landing platform with an elegance that seemed at odds with their historical reputation. Among them was a man named Captain Elias Ward. He walked with quiet confidence, his posture upright but relaxed. His eyes were dark and steady, observing everything with sharp focus. Lorana felt a strange mixture of fascination and amusement. He seemed calm, polite, and almost fragile compared to the ancient stories she had studied. She leaned toward her colleague, whispering, "So, this is the legendary human. I expected something more dramatic." Her colleague, a fellow Zentari named Kairos, smirked. "They are supposed to be violent," he said. "Perhaps they have hidden strength, or perhaps like you, they are just stories now." Lorana laughed again, a sound full of disbelief.
"Violence?
That's long gone. They've had centuries to evolve past it." Ward approached the group, greeting each member politely. His voice was calm, but there was a strength in it that made Lorana pause. There was a subtle intensity in the way he looked around, as if he noticed things others missed. His calm demeanor seemed almost unnatural, but compelling. The first days of the exchange passed in study and observation. The humans were polite, curious, and cooperative. Ward often spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight. He explained ancient human history with precision, yet without arrogance. Lorana found herself intrigued despite herself. One afternoon, the delegation traveled to the ruins of a long-abandoned planet, a world once ravaged by war, where ancient humans had fought to survive. Lorana had prepared for a mundane research excursion. She expected dusty ruins, broken walls, and relics of long-past violence. She was not prepared for the sense of tension that seemed to cling to the air as soon as the human ship touched down. Ward moved among the team, checking sensors, scanning the horizon, his movements quiet but purposeful. Lorana watched him, noticing the way his eyes constantly evaluated the environment, calculating possibilities she could not even imagine. At night, around a small campfire on the barren planet, Lorana could not help but tease him. "Tell me, Captain Ward," she said lightly, "why do your people still train soldiers? The galaxy is at peace. Violence is unnecessary." Ward looked at her, his expression calm but unyielding. "Peace is fragile," he said softly. "It is not permanent. It is borrowed. One must always be prepared to defend it." Lorana laughed again, lightly, trying to hide the chill that ran down her spine. "Such paranoia is outdated. Surely humans have learned to live without fighting." Ward did not answer. He only stared into the fire, his gaze thoughtful. Lorana felt an unfamiliar respect, even as she tried to dismiss it. The night passed quietly, though Lorana could not shake the sense that something was watching. Her curiosity grew as the sensors on the expedition detected faint movements underground. energy readings that were neither natural nor familiar. The alien guards accompanying the expedition panicked, interpreting the readings as geological instability. Lyrana, amused at their reaction, waved her hand. It is nothing. Just the planet breathing. Ward's expression, however, was serious. He did not smile or joke. He checked the perimeter and ordered the team to prepare basic defenses, moving with quiet authority. Lyrana watched him, puzzled by the instinctive command he seemed to hold over the situation. Hours later, the ground trembled. Without warning, ancient war drones burst from underground tunnels. Their metallic bodies glinted under the twin suns, weapons opening with hissing sounds. The alien guards froze, unsure of how to respond. Panic rippled through the group. Lyrana stumbled backward, alarmed and unsure what to do. She had studied wars, but she had never faced one. And then Ward moved. It was a transformation that stunned Lyrana. The quiet, polite human became something else entirely. His posture shifted, his voice sharpened, his movements precise. He gave orders to the humans and the alien team alike, his tone calm but commanding. He directed them to defensive positions, to cover and to observe the drone's patterns. When one drone aimed directly at Lyrana, he stepped forward. Without hesitation, he placed himself between her and the threat, using a damaged exosuit panel to shield her from the first blast. The alien guard stared, frozen, as he moved with fluid, controlled precision, dismantling drones one by one. Lyrana's laughter of disbelief from days ago returned, not as humor, but as awe. She had studied the legends of human ferocity, and now she saw them in action. But this was not reckless rage. It was mastery. Every move was deliberate, calculated, and effective. By the time the last drone lay silent on the barren ground, the field was eerily quiet. Lyrana could hardly breathe. She looked at Ward, standing calm amid the wreckage. His dark eyes met hers, and for a brief moment, she saw the history of his species reflected there. Survival, determination, and controlled power. She realized something important, something that shook her more than any textbook could. Humans had not forgotten violence. They had learned when to use it and when to hold it back. The camp was quiet for a long time. Lyrana sat among the alien guards, still shaken. The humans gathered around Ward, who gave no expression of pride or triumph. To them, this was routine, preparation, discipline, survival. But for Lyrana, it was a revelation. She could not stop staring. She had laughed at the notion of human violence, believing it to be an outdated myth, a relic of the past. But now she understood. Humans were not extinct because they were weak. They were strong. They were patient, controlled, and capable of greatness beyond what any species had achieved. Lyrana's mind raced with questions, but one feeling stood out above all: respect. For the first time in her life, she could not dismiss humans as primitive. They were not only survivors, they were masters of themselves, of their power, and of their history. As the twin suns set behind the barren mountains, casting long shadows over the battlefield, Lyrana Vell sat quietly, processing what she had witnessed. Somewhere in the distance, the human delegation worked in silence, and Ward remained watchful, calm, and ready. She whispered to herself, almost in awe. I laughed at the idea of human violence, until he turned around. And in that moment, Lyrana understood something profound. History was not just in books. It lived in the actions of those who remembered it. And humans, she realized, were alive with the power of their past. The first night after the attack on the ruins, ViewerShip's twin moons hung low over the expedition camp, casting pale silver light across the barren landscape. Lyrana Vell could still feel the echoes of the battle, the hum of the drones, the heat of the exosuit blast, the calm yet terrifying precision of Captain Elias Ward. She had spent the night trying to study, to return to her usual routine, but her mind refused to settle. She stepped out of her small observation tent, breathing in the thin, crisp air of the planet. The ruins lay silent in the distance, shadowed under the moons. Her footsteps crunched softly over the metal gravel, and she noticed that the human guards moved efficiently around the camp, their eyes constantly scanning for danger. There was a quiet discipline about them that felt alien compared to the casual chaos of her Zentari colleagues. Lyrana paused near the edge of the camp and watched Ward. He was alone, crouched by the remains of the last drone, inspecting it carefully. She could see the muscles in his arms flex under the sleeve of his uniform, the way his fingers traced the metal like he understood it on a level no alien could. "You keep examining them," Lorana said, her voice soft but curious. "Do you enjoy this?" Ward looked up, his dark eyes meeting hers. For a moment, the quiet intensity that had struck her during the battle returned. "Understanding the past is the only way to prepare for the future," he said. His voice was calm, almost gentle, yet every word carried weight. Lorana laughed lightly, shaking her head. "So humans do not fight because they enjoy it. They fight because they cannot avoid it?" Ward considered this for a moment, then nodded slightly. "We fight to protect, but we train because peace is not guaranteed. There is no certainty in the universe." She frowned, intrigued but still amused. "It seems your people are haunted by the idea of violence, yet you claim to have evolved beyond it. How does that work?" Ward did not answer immediately. Instead, he turned his attention back to the drone. His hands moved deftly, opening panels and scanning internal circuits. Lorana noticed that he worked as if the machine were alive, careful, precise, and aware of every possibility. Before she could speak again, an alarm blared across the camp. The human sensors had detected movement deeper underground. It was faint but unmistakable, another energy signature rising from the ruins. The alien guards froze in confusion, unsure whether to flee or investigate. Lorana's heart raced. "It cannot be another attack," she whispered, glancing at Ward. He stood immediately, calm but alert. "It is likely not random," he said. "Stay close. Follow orders." The humans and Zentari researchers moved quickly to prepare a defensive perimeter. Ward split the team, instructing each group to cover a sector of the ruins. His movements were smooth, decisive, and reassuring. The alien guards, inexperienced in real combat, hesitated, but Ward's calm presence made them follow instructions without question. As the hours passed, nothing happened. The ruins remained silent. Lorana tried to relax, but she could not. Something about the planet felt alive, as if it were holding its breath. Finally, Ward approached her. "You study humans," he said. "But observation alone does not teach understanding. You must see action to understand behavior." She frowned. "Are you saying this is a test?" Ward shook his head. "No, it is reality. You cannot separate learning from living, and right now reality is teaching us." Lorana watched as he moved toward the sensors, adjusting and recalibrating them with careful precision. He checked readings that none of the Zentari could interpret and adjusted the energy shields around the camp. Every movement was deliberate, purposeful. It was impossible not to feel a quiet awe in his presence. Hours later, the night air grew colder. The twin moons cast long shadows across the ruins, and the faint sound of machinery could be heard from deep underground. Lorana's pulse quickened. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ruins, and the faint shapes of more drones emerged from subterranean tunnels. They were smaller than the first ones, but faster, moving with mechanical precision. The alien guards panicked. Many froze, unsure what to do. Lorana felt her stomach tighten. She had read about violence, seen the descriptions in ancient records, but this was different. This was immediate, real, dangerous. Ward stepped forward calmly. His presence alone commanded attention. "Positions," he said. His voice was soft but unyielding. "Do not fire unless I give the order. Observe patterns first." The drones advanced, scanning, firing warning pulses into the air. The alien guards flinched. Lorana wanted to step back to hide, but Ward's eyes met hers. In that moment, she felt a strange confidence. She could trust him. Ward moved with fluid precision, coordinating both humans and Zentari guards. He gave instructions in short, clear bursts: who would cover which sector, where to take shelter, how to respond if the drones attacked. He predicted the drones' movement patterns, anticipating their strikes before they happened. Then it happened. One drone broke through a shield and aimed at Lorana. Her heart leapt, but before she could react, Ward dove in front of her. He used the panel from a damaged exosuit to block the energy blast. Sparks flew, and the force of the shot threw him to the ground, yet he rose instantly, unshaken. Lorana watched, wide-eyed, as Ward engaged the drones. He moved like a shadow, precise and efficient. He did not hesitate, but neither did he rage. Each action was calculated, each movement purposeful. He disarmed and disabled the drones one by one, sometimes using their own energy against them. The alien guards were astonished. Some started to follow his lead, but most remained frozen. Lorana felt both fear and awe as she witnessed the human's legendary capability. She realized with a shiver that humans had not forgotten violence, they had mastered it. When the last drone fell, the silence was deafening. The ruins were empty again, save for the wreckage of machinery and the faint hum of residual energy. Lorana approached Ward cautiously, her mind racing. You are different from the records," she said softly. "They said humans were violent, uncontrollable, extinct. And yet here you are, calm, precise, controlled." Ward looked at her without a smile. "We are dangerous not because we seek conflict, but because we remember how to survive it. Peace is valuable, but we do not assume it will last." Lorana struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what she had just witnessed. She had studied human history, laughed at its supposed violence, but it was nothing compared to this. Humans were not extinct because they had lost the ability to fight. They had chosen when to fight and when to restrain themselves. She glanced at the alien guards who were still shaken and realized something else. Humanity's strength was not just in physical skill, it was in discipline, in strategy, and in understanding the balance between action and restraint. That night, around the small campfire, Lorana sat silently, watching Ward and the other humans prepare for rest. She could not stop thinking about the battle, the calmness in his movements, the precision of his decisions. For the first time in her life, she felt a deep, respectful awe for the species she had once considered extinct. Ward noticed her gaze and simply nodded once, quietly acknowledging her presence. He did not boast, did not demand recognition. His calm demeanor spoke louder than words ever could. Lorana realized that true strength did not need to announce itself. It simply existed, ready when necessary. The twin moons began to sink below the horizon, and the first light of the suns crept over the barren mountains. Lorana made a silent promise to herself. She would study humans not just in history but in action. She would try to understand their paradox, how they could be peaceful yet capable of such mastery and violence. As the camp settled into uneasy sleep, Lorana Vell finally allowed herself to smile, not in amusement but in admiration. For the first time, she understood a truth that no textbook could convey. Humans were not just survivors. They were masters of themselves, and their greatest weapon was the knowledge of when, and when not, to use force. And in that moment, Lorana realized something she had never believed possible. She could no longer laugh at the notion of human violence, because humans, she understood now, carried within them a power that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The morning sun crested the jagged mountains of the ruined planet, spilling pale gold across the camp. The ruins below were quiet, almost eerily peaceful. Yet Lorana Vell could still feel the tension from the previous night. The memory of Captain Elias Ward stepping between her and the deadly drones replayed in her mind like a vivid image she could not shake. Lorana walked toward the remains of the drones with caution, observing the broken machines. Their bodies were twisted, torn, and still humming faintly with residual energy. She knelt beside one of them and touched the cold metal, feeling a spark of awe. She had studied human violence for years, laughed at it even, but this was something beyond history. This was action, real and precise. Ward approached silently, his footsteps almost invisible on the metal gravel. He crouched beside her, examining the drone with careful efficiency. "They are old," he said softly, "but still functional. Someone designed them to last. Someone designed them to kill." Lorana shivered. Who would do this? Why would these machines awaken now? Ward did not answer immediately. His dark eyes scanned the horizon, calculating, observing. There was a tension in his stance, a readiness that Lorana had never seen before. "You must understand something," he said finally. "We did not fight last night because we enjoy it. We fought because it was necessary. Humans carry the memory of survival. It shapes every action. You may laugh at it, but that memory is powerful." Lorana nodded slowly, feeling the truth in his words. She had always thought of human history as a series of mistakes, violent and destructive, now obsolete. But the humans themselves had survived. They had mastered their past. The calm was shattered when the sensors picked up another disturbance, deeper underground this time. The energy readings were stronger, more organized. Lorana felt a chill run down her spine. Ward immediately took command. "Positions," he ordered. His voice was calm but sharp, carrying authority. "Stay alert, observe the patterns. Do not engage unless necessary." The alien guards hesitated. They had not faced anything like this before. But the humans moved without question, following Ward's silent signals. Lyrana watched, fascinated, as his calm precision orchestrated the camp's defense. Minutes later, the ground trembled violently. Dust and debris fell from the ruins as more drones emerged, faster and more lethal than before. Their energy pulses lit up the morning sky, and the alien guards panicked. Lyrana's pulse raced, but she stood her ground, watching Ward. He moved with incredible speed, yet every motion was deliberate. He blocked attacks, redirected drones' energy back at them, and used the terrain to his advantage. When a drone aimed at Lyrana again, Ward stepped in front of her without hesitation. Sparks flew as the drone's energy pulse hit the exosuit panel he held. He pushed her out of harm's way and, without losing momentum, disabled the threat. Lyrana could hardly breathe. She had studied the stories of human ferocity, read the chronicles of their wars, and dismissed them as exaggeration. Yet here she was, witnessing a single human capable of dismantling a small army of lethal machines with calm precision. The alien guards looked on in awe and fear. Some tried to assist, but most froze, untrained for such chaos. Ward's presence alone commanded the battlefield. Every order he gave, every movement he made was clear, precise, and effective. He did not shout or rage. He simply acted. As the last drone fell, Ward turned slowly, surveying the scene. His dark eyes scanned every angle, ensuring no threat remained. Lyrana felt a shiver run through her body. The human before her was not just skilled, he was a force of nature, controlled, disciplined, and terrifying in his calmness. "Why do you fight like this?" she asked, stepping closer once the danger had passed. "Why do humans train for violence if peace exists?" Ward's expression remained unreadable. "Because peace is not guaranteed. Strength is not shown in rage. It is shown in readiness. We remember how to survive, and we act when necessary." Lyrana realized she had been wrong to laugh. Humans did not need to prove their power through violence. They had mastered it, kept it in check, and wielded it only when required. The idea of violence, once amusing, now felt deeply serious and awe-inspiring. Later, as the team worked to repair damaged equipment, Ward continued to monitor the perimeter. Lyrana observed him quietly, noticing small details she had missed before. The way he anticipated the drone's movements, how he calculated risk, how he moved without panic. A sudden movement in the ruins drew her attention. A small, alien creature scuttled across the ground, harmless but fast. Lyrana realized then that Ward's eyes never missed a detail, no matter how small. Every sense, every movement was focused on survival and protection. She approached him, curiosity overtaking caution. "Captain Ward, do all humans carry this memory? This instinct?" He looked at her, calm and steady. "It is in all of us. Some choose to ignore it, some forget. But the memory exists. It shapes how we act, even when we hope for peace." Lyrana felt a strange mix of fear and admiration. The humans she had studied in books seemed primitive, chaotic, and long gone. Yet here stood a man who embodied all the lessons of human history: control, precision, and the strength to act decisively when needed. As the sun rose higher, the expedition team began to explore the ruins more cautiously. The drone's reactivation suggested that the planet held secrets long forgotten, and Ward moved at the forefront, analyzing, predicting, and preparing for threats. Lyrana followed him closely, her mind racing with questions. How could a species so violent in its past survive? How could humans achieve such control and mastery? And most importantly, what had awakened these drones, and why now? Ward noticed her gaze. "The past is not just history," he said. "It is a guide. We study it, we respect it, and we use it to survive. Your people think of us as extinct, but we remember. That memory makes us strong." The alien guards whispered among themselves, awed and confused. They had never seen such capability, such controlled power. Lyrana realized that humans were not just survivors. They were teachers of survival, showing even other species how to act in chaos without losing control. Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the ground again. This time, the drones moved in a coordinated pattern, attacking as a group. The alien guards panicked, some running for cover. Lyrana's heart raced, but she did not move. She trusted Ward. He stepped forward, his calm presence anchoring the group. With precise movements, he directed the humans and aliens alike, creating a defensive line. He anticipated the drones' attacks, redirecting energy and controlling the battlefield with a skill that seemed almost supernatural. When a drone aimed directly at Lyrana for the third time, Ward acted without hesitation. He intercepted the attack, using the terrain and debris to block the strike. Sparks flew, but he remained unscathed. He moved like a shadow, neutralizing the threat quickly and efficiently. By the time the last drone fell, silence returned to the ruins. Dust floated in the air, and the alien guards looked on, stunned. Lorana approached Ward, her mind racing with awe and questions. You are unlike anything I expected," she said softly. "All my studies, all the records, none of it prepared me for this." Ward looked at her calmly. "History does not always tell the full story. Humans are not violent because we seek conflict. We are violent because we must be prepared to survive. We remember and we act when necessary. That is our strength." Lorana nodded slowly, feeling a deep respect for the human before her. She had laughed at the notion of human violence, believed it to be outdated and extinct. But now she understood. Humans did not forget their past, they controlled it, using it to protect life and maintain peace. As the team regrouped and assessed the damage, Lorana stayed close to Ward. She realized that her understanding of humans had changed completely. They were not merely a species of chaos. They were a species of mastery, capable of immense action, yet tempered by wisdom and restraint. For the first time, Lorana felt a new kind of admiration, one that mixed awe, respect, and a touch of fear. Humans were not extinct because they were weak. They had survived because they knew when to fight, how to fight, and when to stop. And as Ward stood silently among the ruins, watching for any new threat, Lorana whispered to herself, almost in awe, "I laughed at human violence," until he turned around. She understood now that humans were not just survivors, they were a species defined by their choice, their memory, and their discipline. And that realization would change everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. The ruined planet was silent again, but the calm felt uneasy, like the breath held before a storm. Lorana Vell walked carefully through the broken metal corridors of the ancient ruins, her mind racing with questions. The drone's sudden activation, the coordinated attacks, and the way Captain Elias Ward had moved through the chaos, all of it lingered in her thoughts. She had laughed at the notion of human violence once, but now she understood its depth. Humans were not just violent. They were precise, controlled, and terrifyingly effective when necessary. Yet a question gnawed at her. Why now? Why had the drones reactivated after centuries of silence? Lorana returned to the camp, where Ward and his team were quietly inspecting the battlefield. The human captain moved with calm authority, his attention divided between the ruins and the alien guards who were still shaken from the attacks. Ward had long ago finished checking for immediate threats, yet he remained vigilant, scanning every shadow and distant movement. "You've faced them before, haven't you?" Lorana asked softly, standing near Ward as he examined the remains of the last drone. Ward's dark eyes met hers, calm but unwavering. "We have studied many automated defenses in the past," he said. "Some were ancient, some were modern. Each teaches lessons. Each reminds us of what survival requires." Lorana nodded slowly. She could see now that his calm was not a natural trait. It was learned, honed over generations, a combination of history, memory, and discipline. Humans did not forget violence. They understood it and chose when to use it. As she wandered through the ruins, Lorana discovered old archives buried under debris. Ancient terminals, long dormant, flickered to life when she activated them. The screens displayed schematics of drones, blueprints for weapons, and records of battles long forgotten. But one folder caught her attention, a set of encrypted files that had never been accessed by the conquered. Curiosity drove her fingers across the interface. Lines of code scrolled quickly, showing the creation and purpose of the drones. The machines were not remnants of random wars. They had been deliberately built for defense and control, designed to activate in the presence of humans. Her heart raced. "These weren't accidents," she whispered. "Someone reactivated them. Because humans arrived." Ward approached silently, his presence calm but commanding. "You've found the core files," he said. "Yes, they were set to respond to human energy signatures. Someone or something wants to test humans even after all this time." Lorana's eyes widened. "Why would anyone do that?" "The galaxy thinks humans are extinct. Why would anyone care?" Ward's expression did not change. Because humans carry power. Not just physical strength, but memory, discipline, and strategy. Those who remember the past are dangerous to anyone who seeks control. She shivered, realizing that humanity's power was not in aggression alone. It was in the choice to act when necessary, combined with the restraint to hold back. Later, around the campfire, Lorana spoke with some of the Zintari guards. They were in awe of Ward and the humans. Some admitted they were afraid not of the drones, but of the human captain himself. He moves like a shadow, but he is in control of everything. One whispered, "It is frightening and inspiring." Lorana nodded, understanding exactly what they meant. She had studied the myths of human ferocity and assumed them to be exaggerations. Now she knew the truth. Humans did not need to prove strength. They had mastery over themselves. That mastery made them both terrifying and admirable. That night, Lorana returned to Ward's side. He was quietly observing the perimeter, eyes scanning every shadow. She had a question that had been burning in her mind since the first encounter with the drones. "Captain Ward," she began cautiously. "The drones, someone activated them deliberately. Who would do this? And why target humans?" Ward turned to her, calm and steady. "The galaxy is not as safe as it appears," he said. "Some factions fear humans. They see potential in our memory of the past and our knowledge of survival. They fear that we might rise again if provoked." Lorana frowned. "Rise again? Humans are supposed to be extinct or at least pacified. That is what the Concord says." Ward shook his head slightly. "The Concord records tell only part of the story. Humans were not pacified by evolution. We chose restraint. Peace was a choice, not a guarantee." She stared at him, realization dawning. Humans had survived not because they were weak, but because they controlled their power. They remembered the horrors of their past, and they chose when to act and when not to act. The next morning, the expedition team discovered signs that the drone's activation was not random. Energy signatures led further underground, toward a hidden complex that had remained untouched for centuries. Lorana felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She had always sought knowledge, but now knowledge carried real danger. Ward led the team carefully, moving like a shadow through the ruins. The alien guards followed hesitantly, while Lorana stayed close to Ward, feeling a strange mixture of awe and security. As they entered the underground complex, the walls were lined with ancient machinery. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing maps, codes, and encrypted messages. Ward analyzed them quickly, identifying traps, potential threats, and weaknesses. Lorana watched, fascinated. He moved not with brute force, but with strategy, using his intelligence and memory of human history to guide every decision. "This complex," he said, "was designed to test humans, not destroy them immediately, but observe their reactions, their instincts, their strategies. Whoever built it wanted to see if humans still remembered the past, if we could survive the challenges." Lorana felt a chill. "And you passed the test," she said softly. Ward did not answer with words. Instead, he moved through the complex, checking systems, redirecting energy flows, and neutralizing threats with quiet precision. Lorana realized that every action he took was a lesson in human capability, how they could survive, adapt, and control chaos. Hours passed as they explored deeper. Lorana uncovered more records, learning that humans had once faced similar automated defenses during wars long before the Concord formed. Each record told the same story. Humans fought with strategy, intelligence, and controlled power. They did not need to rage. They had mastery. As night fell, the team emerged from the underground complex. Lorana looked at Ward, standing silently among the ruins. He was calm, composed, and alert, yet there was a quiet strength radiating from him. She finally understood something profound. Humans were not defined by their capacity for violence. They were defined by their capacity to control it, to act decisively when necessary, and to survive against overwhelming odds. Lorana's respect for humans, which had begun as curiosity, had grown into awe. She had laughed at the notion of human violence, believing it to be a myth. Now she realized it was not a myth. It was a choice, a skill, and a power that shaped the galaxy. Before leaving the planet, Lorana spoke to Ward one last time. "I understand now," she said softly. "Humans are not extinct. You are not weak. You are prepared, disciplined, and strong in ways I cannot describe." Ward nodded once quietly. "Strength is not always shown in action. Sometimes it is shown in restraint. We remember the past not to relive it, but to guide the future. As the expedition ship lifted off, carrying humans, Zentari, and other species back to the stars, Lyranavel looked out at the ruins one last time. The ancient planet held secrets, challenges, and lessons, but the most important lesson had been the humans themselves. She knew now that humans carried something unique, a memory of survival, a mastery of power, and the wisdom to know when to act. The galaxy underestimated them at its own risk, and for Lyranavel one truth stood clear. She could no longer laugh at the notion of human violence. Humans were not just survivors. They were guardians of their own power, capable of shaping the future in ways no one else could. The stars stretched before her as the ship sailed home, and she felt a mixture of fear, respect, and wonder. Humans had shown her that true strength lay not in chaos but in memory, control, and choice, and she would carry that lesson with her wherever she went. For the first time in her life, she understood the paradox of humanity: peaceful yet deadly, restrained yet capable, fragile yet indestructible. And she knew that the galaxy would never be the same once humans truly revealed their full potential. The expedition ship glided silently through the star-streaked void, carrying humans, Zentari, and other allied species back from the ruined planet. Lyranavel sat near the observation window, her violet eyes fixed on the distant stars. She could still feel the echo of the ancient drone's attacks, and the memory of Captain Elias Ward standing calmly amid chaos replayed over and over in her mind. She had laughed at the idea of human violence once, but now she understood its depth. Humans were not just capable of fighting. They were masters of choice, control, and survival. The calm of space was shattered by the alarm blaring through the ship. Red lights flashed and the hum of the engines deepened. Lyrana's pulse quickened. The sensors had detected a rogue fleet approaching, armed with advanced weapons and clearly intent on attacking. Ward immediately stood, his quiet calm transforming into precise, commanding authority. "Prepare for contact," he ordered. His voice carried through the ship, but it was calm, not panicked. "Check all systems, position shields, and ready defensive measures. Everyone, stay alert." Lyrana felt a shiver run down her spine. The humans had prepared for this. She had seen it before. Calm in the face of danger, precision without hesitation. But the scale now was larger. This was not drones or automated defenses. This was a fleet intent on destruction. The alien guards hesitated, unsure what to do. They had never faced real combat on this scale. Lyrana felt the tension in the ship rise, a mixture of fear and anticipation. Ward moved through the ship, checking systems, coordinating teams, and issuing concise, clear instructions. He did not panic. He did not shout. He commanded through presence, strategy, and certainty, and the humans and even some of the aliens followed him without question. Minutes later, the rogue fleet came into view. Ships of varied design, heavily armed and organized, filled the viewport. The Zentari crew whispered among themselves, awed and frightened. Lyrana could see the concern etched on their faces. "Captain," one Zentari officer asked hesitantly, "can we survive this?" Ward's expression remained calm, unreadable. "We will," he said simply. "But survival requires focus, discipline, and teamwork. Fear will not save us. Action will." The rogue fleet opened fire and the first energy blast streaked toward the expedition ship. Alarms blared and lights flickered. The alien guards froze, unsure how to respond. Lyrana's heart raced, but she stayed where she was, watching Ward. With a few precise gestures, he directed the human crew. Shields were repositioned, weapons targeted, and defense patterns formed. He anticipated the enemy's attacks, moving faster than their calculations could follow. The humans acted like extensions of his will, moving with efficiency and precision. Lyrana was astonished. She had seen Ward in battle before against the drones, but this was different. This was larger, more dangerous, and yet he remained perfectly calm. Every decision, every movement was deliberate, calculated, and effective. As enemy ships closed in, Ward coordinated with alien allies, teaching them to act calmly under pressure. He instructed some to reinforce shields, others to redirect energy, and a few to prepare countermeasures. Lyrana watched the alien guards begin to mimic his movements, following his guidance with growing confidence. Then came the decisive moment. A massive strike targeted the ship's core. Time seemed to slow as Ward analyzed the trajectory, calculated the impact, and moved instantly. He issued precise instructions, and the humans and aliens worked together to deflect the attack. The core held and the ship remained intact. Lorana realized something profound. Humans were not only capable of surviving, they could lead others to survive. Their strength was not just in fighting, but in guiding, teaching, and coordinating. They could turn fear into action, chaos into order. The battle raged for hours. The rogue fleet was relentless, attacking in waves, but Ward's strategy was flawless. He moved through the ship calm and focused, making adjustments as needed. Lorana followed him closely, her admiration growing with each action. At one point, a rogue fighter broke through the defensive perimeter and aimed directly at the command deck. Ward acted without hesitation. He used the ship's defense systems to intercept the fighter, redirecting its energy back toward the enemy. Sparks and energy arcs danced across the viewport as the fighter exploded, neutralized before it could cause harm. Lorana could hardly breathe. The humans she had studied, laughed at, and doubted had just turned potential disaster into controlled victory. And it was not luck. It was discipline, memory, and mastery, skills honed over centuries, passed down through generations. As the rogue fleet faltered, Ward ordered a counterattack. Humans and allied ships moved in precise formation, striking the enemy with calculated force. Lorana watched in awe as the tide of the battle shifted. The rogue fleet, once confident and aggressive, now faltered under the humans' skillful strategy. Finally, the last enemy ship was disabled, drifting silently in space. The battle was over. Silence fell across the expedition ship, broken only by the hum of engines and the soft movements of the crew checking systems. Ward stood at the center of the command deck, calm and steady, surveying the aftermath. Lorana approached him, her mind racing with questions and admiration. You did this," she said softly. "You controlled the chaos, guided everyone, and survived. How can humans be so capable?" Ward looked at her quietly. "We survived because we remember," he said. "We remember the past, the mistakes, the wars, and the victories. We act with discipline, precision, and choice. Strength is not shown in anger. It is shown in restraint and action when necessary." Lorana nodded slowly, feeling a deep respect she had never known before. Humans were not just survivors. They were guardians of their own power. They could teach others, lead under pressure, and act decisively when the universe demanded it. As the crew repaired the ship and stabilized systems, Lorana reflected on everything she had witnessed. The ruins, the drones, the attacks, they had all been tests, whether deliberate or accidental. And in each test, humans had proven themselves not only capable of survival, but capable of inspiring others through action. She realized something else. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. The legends of human violence had been dismissed as myths, but those who ignored history were blind to the true mastery humans carried. They did not need to fight constantly. They fought when necessary, and they did so with intelligence, precision, and self-control. Later, in the observation deck, Lorana wrote in her notes. Her hands moved quickly, documenting every detail of the battle, every observation of Ward and the humans. She wrote, "Humans are not violent because they seek conflict. They are violent because they are prepared. They remember, they act with choice, and they guide others through chaos. Peace is not guaranteed, but they maintain it with mastery. The galaxy underestimates them at its own risk." Ward approached silently. "You understand now," he said quietly. Lorana nodded. "Yes, I laughed at human violence, until I saw it controlled, purposeful, and guided. You are not only survivors, you are teachers, leaders, and protectors. The galaxy will never truly understand until it faces the same trials we did." Ward gave a small nod and turned back to the stars. Lorana watched him, realizing the truth of what she had seen. Humans were extraordinary not just because of strength, but because of their memory, choice, and discipline. They could change the outcome of events simply by acting with knowledge and precision. As the expedition ship sailed back toward the safety of the galactic hub, Lorana felt a sense of awe and wonder. Humans had shown her the paradox of their existence: peaceful yet capable, restrained yet deadly, fragile yet indestructible. She would carry this lesson with her forever. Humans were not merely a species of history. They were masters of their past, guardians of their present, and architects of the future. And the galaxy, she realized, would never be the same once humans fully revealed their potential. Finally, Lorana turned away from the observation window and joined the rest of the team. The humans moved with calm confidence, coordinating repairs, checking systems, and ensuring everyone was safe. They did not boast. They did not seek praise. They simply acted, and Lorana understood at last why humans survived when so many species fell to chaos. Not because they were stronger than others, but because they knew when to act, how to act, and when to hold back. That choice, that discipline, was the true power of humanity. As the ship sailed through the stars, leaving the ruins behind, Lorana whispered quietly to herself. I laughed at the notion of human violence, until he turned around. Now I will never forget it, and in that moment, she understood the essence of humanity, not just in history, but in the living example of Elias Ward and the humans who carried their legacy through the stars. The galaxy could underestimate them if it wished, but humans were ready. Always ready, and for Lorana Vell, that knowledge would change everything.